It's funny, Cloudflare tends to do really well or really connect with digital native disruptive startups that are changing things. So DEP, the digital marketing agency, and cm.com, which is really disrupting the customer experience space. And it's an honor to have them here. We also work quite well with disruptive parts of larger organizations where they're trying to break the rules to try and do something and to build something better. So I'm going to really try and level set with you about where Cloudflare is, where we see our position in terms of value to you. We're going to talk about where we're going in terms of digital transformation. And I'll try and give you an idea about our thinking around where our organization can help you in 2023. But really, it's a story about two inventions. Holland has a massive history of agriculture. In fact, you're one of the world's largest exporters of food, and that's great. And certainly right now, that's a good commodity to have. But I would say that agriculture, farming, is the greatest invention that mankind has ever invented because it brought us together. So I want to take your mind back 11,500 years ago when the Ice Age finished. When the ice receded and mankind emerged from caves, frankly, we started to farm. And the reason we started to farm was largely because of this little guy, the Egyptian dung beetle. Now, what he does is he takes pieces of dung, he rolls it, he spreads it, and he buries it. And he did it for thousands and thousands of years. And around about 9,000 years ago, civilization stopped going out and hunting and stayed at home and farmed. And this was incredibly significant because if we didn't stay at home, well, there wouldn't be as many of us. We wouldn't have developed art and crafts and literature and technology. I mean, in Babylon and in Egypt and all around the Levant, it was a booming of civilization. We had water irrigation around about 9,000 BC. We had glass around about 7,000 BC. Great innovation came largely because of this little fella, for making the land fertile. So I'd just like to take my hat off to the Egyptian dung beetle. And I have to get, if I can't get a dung beetle into a presentation, it's not a good presentation. But what did we do when we generated food? Well, what we did is we stored it and we traded it. And we stored it and traded it, and then we created villages. And instead of going out to hunt animals, we brought them in and we started to farm animals as well. We created great wealth, but unfortunately when you create great wealth, what happens is someone wants to steal it. So, you know, the artisans of that time, they created great wealth because they had their choice of tools and their tools were kept clean. That's basically it. Now, there's an analogy there because the digital artisans of right now need to have their choice of tools and they need to be kept clean, but I'll go into that in a minute. When we create great wealth, people want to steal it. Now, if you have natural defenses, such as Mont Saint-Michel, you know, you need a boat to get to it. So it's actually pretty cool. But for most of us, you have to create walls. And this is, as you know, this is the Tower of London. It's 10 minutes away from my house. And in there is the most valuable object in the UK. It's the crown jewels, right? And the crown jewels are protected inside a building here by all the walls and the brave folk that are going to protect them. Bob with a spear, right? If you want to get to the crown jewels, you have to go past these war heroes to get to them. And I promise you're not. It may look like an old-fashioned thing, but it's sharp. And there are people there with machine guns as well. So this castle and moat approach to securing the greatest assets works if it's something valuable that can be stored inside a castle. You probably know where I'm going, right? What's really valuable right now is outside the castle walls. It's the people and the data and the way that they work. So this castle and moat approach that's been ingrained in us for the last 9,000 years, unfortunately, is what we first did when we first decided to get networking. We put a data center there, put a bunch of tin, make the network go through the tin, do all the security. So how do you think it's worked out? I mean, if you look at the raw numbers, well, how about I tell you? So on the left here, this is the CyberEdge 2022 report. So CyberEdge asked 1,200 CISOs from around the world. 2 questions in here. One is, have you been compromised last year? And do you think you will be compromised next year? This is not success, right? In the UK, 8 out of 10 customers said they had been successfully breached. In Spain, it's 90%. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was living in a neighborhood where between 8 out of 10 and 9 out of 10 of my neighbors were successfully broken into last year, I wouldn't be questioning whether they got the right lock. I'd be questioning the concept of locks altogether. It's abject failure, not only in the industry, and I'm sorry for that because I'm part of the establishment, but in the way that we go about things. Because the chances are you've been breached. Bit more optimistic, we might not get breached. I mean, in Japan, it's going to get down to 87%. You know, it's crazy. Our expectation is that we're going to be breached. And according to IBM, the cost of being breached is pretty expensive. Now, I know not all of these breaches will be as expensive as that, but we shouldn't, that's not good, you know? And they say the art of intelligence is not doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different response. We need to approach things from a different perspective because we want to protect these wonderful people. Because if we're going to, we're all in our 20s and 30s here, of course. If we want our pensions to be worth something, these people have to be successful. Everything we do has to make sure that they don't notice the security, that they're not put behind a wall, you know, with big guys in front with guns. We need to start thinking about things differently, and that's what Secure Access Service Edge is. So at Cloudflare, we're incredibly passionate about the internet. We believe the internet could be the #1 invention, greater than agriculture. But the problem is, when Vint Cerf and Leonard Kleinrock, and Vint Cerf invented TCP/IP, and Kleinrock invented packet switching, they did not invent it for what the needs are right now. The internet is not safe enough, it's not private enough, and it's not fast enough. That's what we're trying to fix. So this is the old ARPA network, by the way. It was designed to get the Pentagon packet over the Stanford University packet as quickly as possible. As we know, the information superhighway has happened, and there are innovative companies all the time that are using great new ideas. These digital native, we have many here, these wonderful digital native companies that have been transforming the world. And if you're a large company with a traditional business, you will not even know who's going to disrupt your business. And that's what we're doing. So at Cloudflare, we have a number of different acts, if you like. The first act that we had was CDN and the core type L7 type stuff. And we smashed past the competition, or past the on-premise competition. We're disrupting that market. You can have it as a service if you want it for free, even if you're an individual. If you just want to test it out, you can have it up to a certain number of licenses. But the point is, we disrupted the CDN market, we disrupted the DDoS market, we disrupted a whole bunch of other markets, and we're disrupting the SASE market as well. So 4 years ago, our company decided to ditch the VPN that we had and go zero trust network access. So we looked at what Google had to offer with BeyondCorp, and we thought we could do that better. So we developed a zero trust network access solution that's based on a web application firewall that's globally distributed. 2.5 years ago, we developed a forward proxy integrated with our DNS, so Secure Web Gateway as a service, and we're continuing to launch new innovative technologies. So, COVID, yeah. Isn't it great that we're physically here today? Because I couldn't cope with any more Zooms, honestly. It's just too much. Satya Nadella said that after the first 3 months of COVID, he said in an earnings announcement that Microsoft had seen 3 years of digital transformation in 3 months. Because people had to do it, it was necessary. People had to stay at home because you're going to catch something if you don't. COVID was probably the biggest accelerator of digital transformation in the last decade or so. And our memory of COVID is, the things we do in COVID stays with us. So, well, it takes 2 months for a behavior to become automatic. Have anybody had that conversation with your child at home in the middle of COVID when it's like, how do I message somebody? My work stuff doesn't work properly. We'll just use WhatsApp. That's safe. But people are behaving at work in different ways now, fundamentally. People aren't necessarily going to want to go back to the office in the same way they did before, because they've learned how nice it is to spend more time with the family. Buying, right? Shops, retail, who goes physically to a shop and is surprised by what's there? Most of us buy it online and pick it up or return it. So the behavior of our buyers and our customers are changing. And of course, with NFTs and crypto and Web 3.0, the emerging technologies are getting to market incredibly rapidly at the moment. And that's going to increase. One thing else. We've seen the stuff that we relied on, and I kind of was a bit unsure about this because Oracle have a really good cloud service, but we've seen the stuff that we've relied on in the past, the physical on-premise technology, the expensive, who's ever had Oracle licensing in the past or EMC licensing? These are systems that are designed by executives for people to use, get deployed in 3 years' time, and you're stuck with it for a decade, right? The whole concept, the whole buying process around on-premise stuff is different to as-a-service stuff. Why commission your Dell servers to do storage, network access, address storage, when you can just buy a bunch of Dropbox licenses? The consumer mindset is applying itself to application choice at the moment. So right now we only have Cloudflare in there. It's probably not a complete list in there, as in we're the only one. But 25% of the world's internet goes through us, so we thought it would be okay to do that. Yeah, I'm being honest here. So digital transformation is all around us. Everyone's on it in some way, shape, or form. How can we change? Well, changing by completely big bang is only really possible if you're a brand new startup, because you don't have the legacy of the complexity that you normally have. Where we're seeing customers gain real success around digital transformation as a result of the cultural transformation is little steps, small crawl, walk, and a run approach. Find things that are going to be meaningful to your business that would be in line with a zero trust architecture or zero trust methodology. Find things that would, take the cost and power and complexity of on-premise technology and buy it as a service. That's what we're seeing people do. Little bits here and there. So how can you become more digitally native, so to speak? Well, you could buy more hardware and start sticking it around the moat and everywhere. You could go buy, a firewall and stick it on someone's house, so they're nice and protected at the house, and ask them to carry the firewall wherever they take their mobile phone. It just doesn't work, right? It's pointless. Buying more hardware, even buying hardware now is hard enough, right? Anybody tried to place an order with Cisco recently? Not knocking Cisco, they're a great company. One of the options that can't exist is buying more hardware. You can't put a firewall in next to every single cloud application you've got or every single user. It just creates complexity. Remember this? It's like, what does that do? I've been to a few data centers like that. Well, another option is you could buy lots of different cloud systems. You buy a Casby, there's plenty of companies that make those. SWG, I used to work with Zscaler, and buy that one. Yeah, you could buy a DLP system from someone else. A DDoS system for somebody else. You could put the complexity into the cloud. Buy lots of systems. You're still stacking stuff. It's just you don't have the physicality of it. It's good that you don't have the physicality stuff because you have a service level, but what happens when something goes wrong? It's even worse. You can't, you haven't got visibility into the cloud application you're buying quite often. So you could put the complexity into the cloud. I wouldn't recommend it. But the option that I would recommend, where we're going, where our mindset is take a collaborative mindset. This is Tom Soderstrom. He's the CIO of NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratories, which is a cool job. And he made the symbolic move of changing his IT department's name to Innovating Together. And I know pretty much every IT department works with the business, but this was a significant move. It made people think, well, actually, we'll work together. If you're, the people that launch the rockets, innovate together. The people that make the stuff that you need, what it's lander, work together. Innovate together. Innovate with partners like Cloudflare. That's what we're here for. Talking about partners, and we regard our customers as partners, what we have to offer is a global cloud network. So we started off as a CDN, so we basically put ourselves as close to humanity around the world as we possibly could, right? We're trying to get compute power, whatever that happens to be, close to every single person on the world. And we actually put a node in the middle of the Atlantic, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, on a junction point where there's no people living there. It's just because that was a really good thing to do. So every service we run, and there's 30 of them, runs in every Cloudflare data center, on every server, everywhere around the world. It has to be lightning fast. Remember I mentioned the internet needs to be quicker? But what about the things that we do, right? So many of you will be using our CDN, probably load balancing, rate limiting, anti-botnet type stuff. And these are our core application services that were what we had when we started off. What we've done is we put a serverless compute environment in every single node around the world so that you can develop your own applications, and people like Shopify do when they're trying to compete with Amazon. So developing your environment, your stuff as close to your users as possible is a good idea. As I mentioned, we developed some zero trust services that are in use with many thousands of customers around the world at the moment, and network services as well. So network and zero trust combined is our SASE portfolio. I mentioned SASE. So we're trying, a big part of Cloudflare is our ability to help make the internet better for everyone. And many of our valued customers don't pay us anything. But what they do is they give us advice about our product. They constantly feedback, it doesn't work with that system there, okay, we'll go and fix it. It doesn't work in this scenario, we'll go and fix it. And it's a unique approach that I've never seen with any, large software or service provider before. So our on-ramps, the way to get into our zero trust platform, are the granularity of controls are incredibly deep. But once you're on there, what we're trying to do is give you services that are from one single stack that's located everywhere around the world. So you can take away the hardware and the complexity. So this is one service. It's not, with the exception of email security, this is completely one service. It's been developed from the ground up, and it's available everywhere. Email security is slightly different. We acquired a company called Area 1 in April this year, and we're perfectly capable of making an secure email gateway. But what we really acquired was their intellectual property around the way that they scan email. So I mentioned that the industry has really failed our customers. You've got a 7 or 8 out of 10 chance of being attacked. Well, according to Deloitte, the number one attack vector for identity theft, which is currently is the biggest challenge, according to Verizon data breach, is email. It's good old-fashioned email. I send you an email, you trust me, so therefore you click the link. You don't trust me, but it looks like somebody that you trust, you click the link. You download it, you take an action. So what we do with Area 1 is we scan the entire internet. Every week, we scan 8 billion internet things. So spoof website, something that looks a bit fishy, a brand new URL that instead of being adept is spelt wrong or something like that. And we take that research and we apply artificial intelligence and machine learning to try and find the phishing email. Quite successfully, I might add. So we announced this week that that's been integrated with our service, and what we will be doing is further deeper integrations. So because of digital transformation, you'll have lots of things to do, right? People need to work from home. People need to work with more cloud applications. You want to migrate your applications from your on-premise into the cloud. And what that would require is a whole bunch of technologies, right? Secure web gateway. Everyone needs one of those if you're accessing the internet. DNS provider, we have to use that for the internet. Zero trust or VPN, if you want to replace your VPN with a zero trust. Cloud access security broker. So what you could do is you could go a la carte. Or what you could do is have one service that does it all. And this is really important to us. If we're not going into it, we are in it right now, an economic downturn. What people don't need is more complexity and more cost. What we're aiming to be is the best value vendor on the market, because we want to compress all of this into one easy to consume service that's easy to manage. The problem, of course, is identity as well. As we are going into a downturn, sadly, companies are being acquired because there's lots of good ideas out there, but funding is drying up in some circumstances. So mergers and acquisitions is happening. We're seeing that accelerating. But, I was chatting to the CISO of one company on Monday, and he had 31 companies they'd acquired, ranging in size from a 2,500 person company to a 2-person company. So multiple identities, right? So with our service, you can aggregate identity providers, even LinkedIn identity, use that. Multiple identity providers from the same company. So to consolidate down one service into a way that makes sense. So as far as roadmap, I wanted to share with you the way that we see the world at the moment. So these are just the security side of SASE, so what Gartner would define as SSE, Secure Service Edge. So we have capabilities that we've been developing. So highly differentiated, high growth. Okay, so the highest differentiated, highest growth product at the moment is remote browser isolation. Remote browser isolation can do 3 things. It can allow you to access websites that are uncategorized or could be malicious because you've got basically a virtual environment. You never go to the internet. It could hide, so that's one use. It could be used in a zero trust environment where you're actually hiding cloud applications that you're using in your business that you don't want to expose to the internet because they might be old or they might have vulnerabilities or they might be third party. So you can hide your internal cloud applications behind a remote browser isolation so it protects the applications. And the third area is it can be used very effectively where if somebody receives an email link, you just go through the RBI. So they never actually go to the malicious website. They just go to a virtual environment so that no data could go and you have some control. So remote browser isolation it's doing very well and it's accelerating, but it's not a massive market. It's about 500 million in terms globally. Secure email gateway and cloud email security. There's about 4 billion a year being spent on this, but it's a slow-moving market. But we're very highly differentiated with what we're doing because all of our competition use signatures, and that's just not hacking it. That's just not working in this new world. So zero trust network access. That's a very high growth environment. Everybody's got a zero trust product these days, right? But zero trust network access is doing very well for things like VPN replacement and third-party contractor access. Secure web gateway, it's relatively slow growth, but we're accelerating development around our secure web gateway. So our cloud-based secure web gateway, called Gateway creatively, combines DNS security, but also inline inspection of traffic. CASB, an API-based CASB, that's quite high growth. We acquired a company called Vectrix that we've spent the last 9 months integrating their environment into our Cloudflare dashboard so that we can get guardrails around Office 365 or Slack or Zoom so that people can't set configurations that could be risky. And then DLP, for the last 6 months we've been shipping a DLP product privately to our customers. We're accelerating development of that because we believe data is going to be more and more important. So, different components of SASE. So our focus is going to be taking those components and making them meaningful for our customers, right? Making it meaningful for secure access. So zero trust network access, remote browser isolation, and secure web gateway. Securing Microsoft with cloud email security, CASB and zero trust network access, and threat defense. So we're going to focus heavily on the customer outcome that's derived from these multiple products. Because what we don't have is a problem of integration. What we do have is the ability to start bringing meaningful value to customers. So to make those beautiful, wonderful people do better work, those digital native teams, there's a few things that we need to do. So you can improve their productivity. You can give them devices or allow them to use their own devices if they chose to, that would work for them. Their choice, the digital natives, their choice of device. We can improve the security posture and consistently the user experience. Simplify the management of policies across all your environments. Remember, consolidation is going to happen in this economic downturn. Reduce the risk in the attack surface. So we had a customer who came to us just as the Ukraine issue was happening, and they received a threatening note from from the Russian government. And basically what they said was, if you don't give us a bunch of money, we're going to take you off the face of the earth, because they were opposing the Ukrainian issue, politics. So giving a load of money or being taken off the internet wasn't a great option. Neither of those options were great. So they came to us and they said, look, first thing we need to do is we need to protect our websites, our public-facing websites. So we instantly, overnight, put a DDoS and a WAF. I'm sure you guys are very acquainted with that. It can be deployed very quickly. DDoS and WAF protection. But also they had a lot of cloud applications that they used themselves. Now, some of them, they could control access with Okta. Some of them were very old and they couldn't apply two-factor authentication to them. They were just using VPNs. They wanted to get rid of that. So what they did was they put our Zero Trust network access in front of the old cloud applications and the ones that couldn't be accessed via Okta. So the application only talks to us, then we talk to their identity provider, which is Okta, and then we do Zero Trust type checks, posture checking, locations, that sort of thing. So we could, over the weekend, shield about 40 applications that they had that were particularly at risk. That was pretty cool. Enable multiple cloud applications and direct internet access, so avoiding the path through a secure web gateway, if anybody still uses secure web gateways. And there's acceleration stuff. So these focus on these use cases. So M&A, divestiture activity, bringing together multiple applications under a single platform of security policy. Wherever you've got apps migrating to the cloud. A lot of people, when they had a secure email gateway, Fortinet or Proofpoint or something in front of their Microsoft email, they then moved to Microsoft email in Office 365 or Google email, and they didn't have much protection. So it's the topology of a on-premise email gateway isn't such that it can lead to a good performance if you go into cloud email. So you could put a virtual version of that in front of your cloud email, or you could look at us. Contractor who have access to your systems, where you don't want to give them access to the whole network, or maybe they're working on some DevOps type stuff and you need to shield that DevOps environment. So that's a very good use case. Around threat defense, there's an awful lot of rethinking about what offices are at the moment. Should they be drop-in centers or should they be formal offices with formal networks? And we want to give flexibility to people around that. So avoiding SD-WAN, we're going to try and leap into direct internet connectivity. Threat defense around phishing or ransomware. We have a lot of customers that come to us because they've been under attack. They've received a ransom note from the Russian FSB, or they've noticed there's been an outbreak and there's been controls missing from their defenses. And we like to look at this sort of environment around the MITRE attack framework. So where do we fit in the attack profile? And it's typically, with phishing, it tends to be, with our email security system, it tends to be around the early stages. So we'd spot a lookalike domain, for example, in the reconnaissance phase, or when they're developing their threats. Because we're not using signatures, we can actually detect threats as they come in a lot more efficiently. In terms of the MITRE framework, our Zero Trust Network Access solution is very good for the lateral movement, to protect the lateral movement around the network, because we're not giving access to a network, we're giving access to an application at the time it's needed. And then, of course, Secure Web Gateway is good for monitoring command and control signals as they come out of the organization. Threat defense is very important to us, and we'll be continuing to invest in that area. And then, of course, securing Microsoft. As people migrate apps to Azure, you need to be performing quickly, they need to be safe, and they need to be secure. And a bonus from this, is around reducing hardware. So we're not targeting hardware reduction at the moment, but if we can avoid the need for network hardware, that's a nice addition. Really, we are bringing bringing a network to you, really, with our magic WAN and magic firewall. So what we're trying to do is help you get rid of hardware and trying to help you get rid of expensive point solutions and drive efficiency by standardizing the environment that you have, and do that at an attractive price. As I say, our way of thinking is very close to that of a digital native startup. So we can help you scale your business to the, from wherever you are on the digital transformation journey, and I think everybody is somewhere on that journey. We can help you scale. Now, I just wanted to sort of leave you with one more thought, really, because there's a lot of hype in the market around zero trust and SASE, because well, it's a lot of noise from analysts, and a lot of expectations from customers that it can do things, and quite often the hype and the expectations don't always align. But within the hype and the hope, if you like, in the middle, the stuff that works. So what we're trying to do is try and make that clear, is wherever you are on your digital transformation journey, whether it is old legacy VPNs that you want to phase out, or maybe it's remote workers that need to just get directly to applications rather than having to remember two-factor authentication codes and stuff like that. Whether it's consolidating the cloud, the security that you provisioned across multiple clouds, wherever you happen to be, there's proven use cases that work. And zerotrustroadmap.org is our assessment of all the areas where the principles of zero trust could be applied to your digital transformation journey. Now, we're not just including Cloudflare in that, you'll be glad to know, because we're not the only player, and there's some areas that we don't play in. We're not an IDP, for example, but IDP could be effectively used to reduce exposure. We were attacked recently. Well, we get attacked all the time, but we were attacked. It was publicly well known that our employees received SMSs saying, "Hi, it's me. I'm Matthew Prince, the CEO. Please click on this link. It's really important." And we're a security company. We make security products, but still, two people clicks on the link, and people are human, right? People are curious. People do stuff like that. It's no bad on them. But the attack didn't go anywhere. And the reason it didn't go anywhere is because we bound zero trust with our YubiKey environment. I don't know if you can see them, but they're tiny little things down here, physical tokens that we always have in there. And so we don't just rely on two-factor authentication. We also can bind the identity to a two-factor authentication token. Sorry. But we're conscious that the tokens are quite expensive sometimes. So we announced today our partnership with YubiKey, where we're going to supply those tokens via the UI at a very, very low cost, sometimes as low as $10 per key for our customers who want to use them with our zero trust. So that's where we're going. We're going to focus heavily on those outcomes, those three outcomes. So threat protection, securing access, and securing Microsoft. That's where we're going to be developing in the next couple of years. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? Question at the back.
One question, please. I read online, but also listening to your presentation, that you propose to substitute traditional VPN with zero trust.
Yeah.
Can you please elaborate on that? Because the first time that I heard about this approach, it was through your company.
Sure.
And I'm really curious about indeed the approach.
If you think about the history of VPNs, right, they were developed in 1997, in the same year that Blu-ray players were developed. And I use Netflix. I've long since got rid of my Blu-ray player. They're old technology, and they weren't designed for security. They were designed for connectivity. It's designed to connect this laptop to that network. So when COVID hit, we saw, according to the Verizon Data Breach Investigations Report 2022, there's been a massive spike in identity theft. And the reason is identity theft is because of ransomware. Because people are leveraging our tendency to click on stuff so that they can steal our credentials and establish a VPN connection and get into the network. And that's exactly what happened with the Cisco breach 2 months ago. They gathered the VPN connections of a Cisco employee. It was bound to a public identity, and they were right inside the network, and they stole 3.4 terabytes of data. VPNs are not good security. They're good connectivity. But I would argue I don't even like them very much. I mean, if you're running them, do you like VPN concentrators? If you're a user, do you like remembering the second code? You know, if you're an administrator, do you like sending out the RSA tokens? No one likes any of that. So what we do is we have a global reverse proxy, which is our Access ZTNA proxy. So if you, on a clientless, so there's two scenarios where it could work. One is with a warp client on a company device, and that would then secure access to any application whatsoever via the principles of zero trust. So if you have an old a data center, you have an old, I don't know, IBM mainframe application or a VMware environment that you want to get access to, you get access only to that application at the time you need it. So whenever that people want to connect to it, they just get access to that. So we'll do things like we can check the device is a company device. We can check the device posture, you know, is CrowdStrike or Carbon Black or something. We can check which country it's in. In fact, we have an open API, so you can check anything that is fed to it. So is it raining outside? If it's raining outside, don't give them access. Or more importantly, if you're having an outbreak, if there's a virus outbreak in your environment, you might want to tighten in your security. It can be used in a clientless environment as well for web applications, where the IDP would drive the user towards that. So it's incredibly easy to get away from VPNs now. It's a lot cheaper. It's a lot better security. Does that answer the question?
We can take it offline.
That's no, but thank you. You're being very polite. Does anybody else have a question? Well, thank you so much. Next, we're going to have a quick break, and then next up, Thomas, Wesley, and Sierra are going to have a discussion. There's going to be some sweet prizes, actually, for people interacting. So thank you very much indeed. Cheers.
So without further ado, I'll introduce. We've got Thomas here. He's one of the lead developers for CM.com and be talking a little bit about his experience. And then we also have Wesley Niels here from Dept Agency, right around the corner, it feels like.
Yes.
And he'll also be sharing a bit more. And I'm Sierra. Actually, I'm not sure if I introduced myself before, so I'm leading in the Benelux. And I'll be asking some questions. I'll ask you guys questions, but everyone in the room who has Cloudflare experience can also answer or ask questions to the panelists, and we'll keep this as an open conversation. And there is some very nice chocolate for all the people who contribute. Good. Okay, so I'll take a seat and get on to the first question. I think I'll start with something Cloudflare.
Sure.
And you guys have been Cloudflare customers for many years. What have been some of the key reasons that you've stuck around and stayed with Cloudflare for different use cases?
Good question.
All right.
First of all, congratulations, because it's the birthday of Cloudflare, as I've heard. So
Absolutely
yes,
is the birthday of
12
Cloudflare.
year, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not that long around, but one of the reasons is, of course, from a technology perspective. Mm-hmm. So what we do, we build a lot of websites and applications for our clients. And main reason in the beginning was using a CDN. Okay. That Cloudflare is of course one of the specialists in providing CDN solutions and making the websites faster. And next to that, of course, security. So that is really important. But what is really important for us as well is that we are a partner of Cloudflare, and we love to have like a partner that thinks along with us. Helps us, supports us, and it's not only about revenue. It's also about partnering up together, and making things better for the world.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Making the internet better,
Exactly.
I think, is save the internet. That's my password on a lot of things. Just kidding. Very good. Okay. Well, thanks, Wesley. Thomas, any thoughts for you on CM.com?
Well, I think it's actually quite similar to what Wesley said. Really, the partnership, that's something that we really value.
Okay.
So yeah, like said, not really getting targets. It's about getting to know us and having that personal connection, getting to know us as a company, getting to know our product suite, and yeah, I think that's really valuable.
Okay, no, good to hear. Well, we have some customers in the room. Does anyone want to share key reasons that they started with Cloudflare or that they stuck around? Anything in particular?
Well,
Okay.
I'm Juba from Austria. Basically, Cloudflare offers a premium level of security from the beginning. We start as a startup, and we can have the top cutting edge basically technology from the beginning.
Yeah.
We stick with Cloudflare because there is no replacement.
Okay, so just to summarize for those listening, you're a startup, and because we have some of the flexible plans for security, no matter how big or small, that helped you guys accelerate a bit.
Definitely.
No, that's great to hear. I think we like that story a lot with our free customers and our business customers and all of the above. And excellent chocolate to start. Good. Any other stories to share? Yeah.
We are using Cloudflare for 4 years now.
Okay.
We started when we evaluated against other CDN, primarily for CDN, that's what we had a fast platform. And we were onboarding customers almost on a monthly basis, and we wanted everything to be automated.
Yeah.
So Cloudflare had this API-based approach with which we could easily provision our resources. So that was one of the primary design for us.
So automation made the difference in making your life a little easier. Well, CM.com knows all about onboarding new customers via API, so that's great to hear.
But I'm curious about establishing this partnership, so I would like to hear more about that. You also want to go in that direction.
Oh, great.
We are not hearing that from you.
Oh, uh-oh. Well, you have a lot of Cloudflareans in the room today, so you're definitely going to hear about that. So no, glad to hear it. Okay, well, how about question number 2? So we all go through technical challenges, and I'm sure that there are tons, right? But are there any that stood out for the year of 2022 or 2021 as key security challenges that you are proud to have overcome? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about those.
Sure, I'll start.
Yeah, sure.
I think like a lot of people here, well, we started 3 years ago together with Cloudflare. Our introduction actually came after a DDoS, right? So you hear that a lot, either DDoS or CDN. You start small and then you roll into the ecosystem and you see more and more potential. So for us as a company, we really like to work from offices, right? But of course, in COVID, working from home, so that's really a challenge. The last couple of years. Also the transitioning from a VPN to the zero trust network access. Yeah, that was one of the things for us. That was really as a company, we also make quite some acquisitions. I think we've had 9 over the last couple of years. The first thing, well, of course, is a new company, then what, right? So if you can really easily onboard a new company or the edge, right, the attack surface, by enabling Cloudflare, that was really,
Oh, excellent. So you got to grow a little bit more, keep buying new businesses. I think you guys have broken some records in regards to growth, right? In this region?
Yeah. So we recently touched 1,000 employees as well. So that's really a nice milestone as well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, really good.
Yeah, well, maybe it's a little bit boring, but I'm coming back to the DDoS story again. So you have to understand that the websites that we build are somehow high profile. So there are a lot of, it's a tech service really big, like football club websites, maybe even political websites. And what we saw is like a big increase in the last years of DDoS attacks, especially coming from specific regions. And that is one of the things that is a challenge for us. Making sure that everything is secure as possible and that websites keep on running, because we have SLAs with our clients and they don't care about Cloudflare, they don't care about where it's running. So that is really important for us, and that was a big technical challenge, and I think Cloudflare helped a lot with that.
Oh, that's really good to hear. Cool. Does anyone in the audience have any intriguing stories of key security challenges that you've been going through?
I can push on that.
Okay.
I've been using Cloudflare probably, well, not for 12 years, but since maybe it's 10. So
Okay.
It's been there since the beginning.
I said you're the OG Cloudflare customer.
So fortunately, we don't. Back in the days, I worked at the bank, or one of the Russian department stores. Fortunately, it was not the DDoS first and then Cloudflare after. We had Cloudflare in front, which helped us a lot in also more complex attacks where you just create your own firewall and block it. And this was actually very recent, where we noticed that I now work at Ace and Tate, South Glasses, where we had some really complicated attacks where these were not just bots attacking your network, these were like full-blown scripts, creating users with usernames, passwords. It all made sense, and then buying gift cards, just probably to check credit cards, whether credit cards are working. And I think with the complexity of this attack, I would not have known how to have solved this without having Cloudflare in front, and now I was able to know what management yet for us, but I was able with the firewall rules just to mitigate these actually within 5 minutes, maybe 10. Took me, so without Cloudflare.
10 minutes to solve something. I think we all wish it was that easy.
So without Cloudflare, I would be in trouble.
Oh, that's really nice to hear. Bots are constantly trying to find new ways to manipulate or take advantage, or I don't know, the creativity never stops because they can get something out of it. Yeah, well, that's good to hear. Anybody else?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
I mean, something very simple and very normal.
Yeah. Is what?
The SSL.
Ah, okay, encryption.
Yeah, it's like managing complex certificates is a nightmare. Either you need to purchase a wildcard certificate, spread it everywhere, you're in a staging environment which is not recommended.
Yeah.
Renewing it every year or every couple of years. It's really a nightmare, which if it's expired, your entire system will be down.
That little tiny chink in the chain, right?
Yeah.
Kink in the chain.
And now Cloudflare, since a few years ago already, solved this big problem.
Pretty good example.
Okay, so on to a little bit of a different subject, culture of security. Now, we all have a responsibility for security, and everyone in this room is really focused on security. I mean, you showed up, right? You came today because you care about security. But it's not in every aspect of the organization, or sometimes it can be challenging to get security into every aspect of the organization. What are some of the ways that you've driven culture in your organization, security culture, from the bottom to the top?
Yeah, maybe I can start off with that one, because as a digital agency, it's kind of, well, we're not known of being like, we have security first in mind. So it's not when it comes to protecting our client environments, but more like the internal in-housing stuff. So and we were just talking about it, like, we grew from 500 to 4,000 people in 5-year time. And it's really hard, to have a lot of creative people, then locking up their systems, having like all the traffic going through one way through a SASE network, for example. So that is really hard for us, and we're still trying to develop that mindset within our company. But I think it starts with with the low-hanging fruit. So first of all, give people the feeling that nothing really changed for them, and then enabling features like SASE or MDM, etc. And that is, I think, the key success for us. And yeah, it's difficult and it takes time, especially when you grow so hard. But yeah.
Yeah, growing 400 to 4,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wrapping your mind around that is,
that's insane.
challenging.
It is
yeah.
insane. All over the globe. Yeah.
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 Okay. No, good to hear. So you're making it easier for them to be
Exactly.
to make secure choices.
Yeah, and not like being strict in the beginning, because you know, if you block everything, then people will start whining, right? So that's that doesn't help, you know. And
Yeah.
but still, you know, you have like, you know, you work with big companies, they think or they hope that you like have your security under control, and you know that's something that, you know, you have to also give back to them. And start working on it, and that's something that you have to also give back to the organization.
Okay. No, good to hear.
Yeah, I think for us what's really interesting here is that, well, I think also mentioned by Dave is, well, you're only as strong as the weakest link, right? And the weakest link in a company of 1,000 people can be a simple email to somebody who's not a developer, who's not really tech savvy. Yeah, one click and, well, then what, right? Yeah. So awareness is also a really big one. So for us, we really focus also on the security aspect, as in trainings, mandatory monthly trainings, and also really try to have an open talk about security, right? So it's not really top-down enforced. Of course, there are some things are enforced. We also try to do it in the most politely way, not to be really intrusive. But still, right, at some point you have to enforce certain rules.
Yeah, okay. No, I think that makes sense. So does anyone else have thoughts on how they've either created a really strong security culture in their organization, or maybe that you found it impossible, and maybe you could share some challenge that you guys have had creating a culture?
Yeah, I've worked into compliance in AWS for a while. In previous experience, I was working into securing more than 1,000 accounts with a tool with Cloud Custodian, and we had a very difficult challenge of having a legacy environment and trying to secure it, but there were no compliance rules when those environments were created. So we had to fine-tune, you know, try to remediate what's new and try to keep production running. So we had an interesting journey, but we managed to secure what's, you know, cut off date of existing resources, and remediate through fixing it or deleting what's improper with the tool. So it was very helpful for us to use it.
Okay, so you got to really have some success out of using the right technology to help everyone make the good decisions.
And in that point, the toughest part is not technology, it's more culture.
Culture, yeah.
And having the communication with the end client, because client or, you know, developer, because their communication is really key. Some stuff happens from one day to the other, and one day they can deploy and the other they can't. And I think communication is the hardest challenge when talking about securing and making a change in the company.
Yeah, getting the communication out there and getting people to listen.
Yes.
That's the other side, right? How well do they hear you? Okay. Oh, did you have something on that?
Yeah, I was wondering, you know, how did they react? Because
Not well.
Not well. That whining you talked about.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
And at some point, everything becomes like, they always think it's securities that was involved. Like, we're talking about AWS, but then at some point they're like, runtime is not working.
Yeah.
Probably security.
Yeah, that's always the case. Yeah.
No, that's good. Okay. Anyone else have any personal stories around security culture? All right, good, yeah.
Well, I mean, security culture in a company will grow when company gets hacked, right? I'm not going to wait until the company gets hacked.
Yeah.
So then I need to be proactive and try to find a way actually to hack the company or the employee in the company by a phishing campaign, but also by scanning the dark web, see if their password, personal password, has been leaked. Like for example, if I have a question, how many of you have two-second factor authentication on their personal profile, on their personal email? enforced. So if not all of you have a second factor authentication with personal email, and I get your password gets leaked online, then you will be triggered, right? Now, if we are in the same company and I'm sending you a Slack message saying, hey, I find your password on the dark web and share it with you, you will freak.
Yeah.
You say, this is so scary. And then you immediately will first reset the password, second, enable second factor authentication.
I wonder, do you think it should be the responsibility of your company that you work for to pay organizations to look for your social security and your passwords and to keep you safe as a person as well as an employee? Should it be someone's responsibility to be doing that? It sounds like your organization's already adopted that, but should more people be doing that?
I think it's wise to scan the dark web. If you have an account with 1Password or LastPass, now they scan the dark web for you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always good to know what is that. Right?
Yeah.
What's your content?
Yeah, no, that's a very good point.
That's interesting. Yeah, I haven't heard that, but it's a good insight.
Yeah, no, good thing for us all to adopt. Okay, very good. On to another topic that maybe everyone's tired of, but data privacy and regulations related to it. So I'm curious, how have you guys managed? I understand that both of you build a lot of services in the cloud. Cloudflare is a cloud service. It's really challenging to continue to follow the regulations and continue to do business. How have you handled this over the past few years?
So in our case, we do a lot of stuff in a private cloud, which is of course something that we fully have control over. But the way our company works is we have various products, various teams working on their own subject, and as a company we give each team quite the freedom to choose what they want to do, what's best for them. They're the experts in the software or the technologies needed. And sometimes the choice also comes up for public clouds. But then of course, the security aspect and of course where do you store the data. For developers sometimes it's really easy to just get started, I'll handle that later, and then you don't. So monitoring is also a really big key here. So that's something that we do with all the teams. Also with the data from Cloudflare, for example, right? So we monitor and even have monitoring with public clouds on the legislation, right? Where is the data for this specific application, and is it stored properly? That's something really that for us, our approach.
So monitoring, but allowing freedom.
Yes. And it's a delicate balance, right?
Yeah.
It's always like, okay, do you wait until you tip over a bit too much, right? And you have to fix, or we try to prevent, of course, whenever it's possible.
It's quite interesting because you were talking about the developers with their freedom.
Yeah.
There's always like that thing, right? So we have like a lot of developers that, from origin, they have a lot of freedom as well. The thing is that they just go to Netlify or to Vercel or whatever, and then just click and I have my website running over here, and you can see it's my test and acceptance environment, and just let's copy over the data from production to test because I need to test things.
Let's go.
That's what happens, right? And so the funny thing is, like a year ago, we made a complete list of all of our tools and services that we use within the cloud, and we found out that there are certain products that are actually not on EU soil. Well, there was data actually, not customer data, but still data inside in a different cloud, which is not in the EU. So that was a big red flag for us. And then we decided like, okay, well now we need to make sure that, coming back to the developer question, like, don't give the freedom, and make sure that, people that, have the understanding of putting things on EU soil when it's needed or is GDPR compliant, and then put it in there. So we use a lot of public cloud environments. So we always try to use EU, West Europe, North Europe, these kind of regions to put our data on there, and then use Cloudflare on top of that to make things fast, especially when it comes to from the US or from the APAC region, and have the websites still be quick and responsive. That's actually how we do it.
Okay, no, that's good to hear. Anybody else? Have you had challenges around data privacy, and how have you handled keeping up with regulations?
Yeah, to come back to eyewear, eyewear is medical information, especially if you go to the UK or the Nordics. It is very strict. In Netherlands, it's not so much. But, so you also have different legislation per country that you have to take into account.
Yeah.
How do you handle it step by step? So
Step by step,
step by
okay.
step. So especially for the UK, there are systems that have certain certifications, HIPAA and whatnot.
Yeah.
Very expensive tools, very ancient. They look like Outlook 97, right? So that kind of environment. We use it until we have something better. And we're getting there, step by step. So, and coming to the developer point, I think it's a very valid point. To what extent do you accept the risk that a developer has admin access to, or a management system has access to that medical data? And to what extent, you want to do that? So I think it's also a company risk. What is accepted and what is not. I think that the size that Async is now, it's 15 developers. Some of them, especially the tech leads, they have access to medical information. That's an accepted risk, and they know how to handle it. That's the assumption.
Well, security is never solved, so it's all about risk appetite. How much risk can you take, and how much risk is appropriate for your industry and where you're going. Okay, anyone else? Stories about their experience?
Well,
Yeah.
You're going for all the chocolates, right?
Yeah,
That's
all the
lovely. Yeah,
chocolates. You got to be upfront. Yeah, no, it's good.
I mean,
Yeah, wow.
I try to be one step ahead, not wait for the GDPR compliance to come knock on my door. And actually, we're running a project using Cloudflare Water,
Okay.
where it would be like a very place where all the data will go through. TLS will get terminated, so you have access to all the text and all the data. And at that moment, you can tokenize the data with the Water and Cloudflare database on the R2. So what will happen is basically email address, phone number, customer name, or home address will be replaced with a tokenized token. Yeah. And the data itself will be stored in Cloudflare, and the token will be stored in the database or the third-party system. And with that, then, the developer can still have the access to the tokenized data, not to the data itself. So like creating this kind of layer to try to test effectively.
And it allows you to have employees anywhere in the world. In the sense they can have access from anywhere because the data is still being stored where it should be, in the EU. Are you looking for a job? No, that's really good to hear. Good. Okay, I'm gonna go to the last question, and really this is a bit of an open-ended question on any Cloudflare stories or experiences where you've gotten to a really nice positive outcome, and this is a really broad question to anybody for their favorite story in regards to the technology or I don't know or the like. So anything in particular you think is worthwhile sharing?
Yeah, well, like 2 years ago during COVID, we had the Eurovision Song Festival, but it was virtually.
Oh, yeah.
So we got the assignment to build a website, which was a 3D modeling website, which was really cool. But it was like hundreds of millions of people would go there, and go all the streams. So that was really insane. And it was the first time that we've ever done something like that, especially with the amount of visitors at the same time. And eventually, we thought, okay, how can we make this really smart? Like we had to do everything from the cache, but still, you never know if it's going to work out.
Can it be big enough?
Yeah. So what we did, we also spread out like a lot of different web servers throughout the world, and then on top of that, put Cloudflare in there. There was actually 1% of load on every server because of Cloudflare. So that is like that is really nice. So everything was cached within Cloudflare. Mm-hmm. The website was performing really fast, and it was a happy customer. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a great story.
Yeah.
There's a test story available about this project.
Yes, there is. Yeah, there is. We have something on the website. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Any thoughts?
Maybe maybe a different one, but quite recently we had you as a guest as well, right?
Yes, thank you.
So we have quite some developers, and again, some companies acquired, and before COVID, we had quite regular developer days, developer meetups, internal community about developers, different stacks, languages, and so on.
Yeah.
I know also one of the challenges that we have is, the Cloudflare's portfolio is pretty big. How do you get that message across, what the possibilities are with Cloudflare to that big of an internal community? So during the last Dev Days, a couple of months back, I think, we had you as a guest. So thanks again for that. But I think it's really helpful, right? As calling a success story to really have the hands-on with the team, with the developers, and show the possibility with the tooling in Cloudflare. And it was really awesome.
Oh, well, I was glad to be there, and that was fun. I think it was actually the biggest room that I've ever presented to. You had 250 developers there, right?
Yeah,
something like that. Crazy. No, that was really good. Okay, so getting the message across to everyone about every security technology, I'm sure, is a challenge. So
yeah, but especially like I said, so many different products, different tech stacks, and so many products from Cloudflare that benefit in different ways, right? Not only security, also performance with the CDN and such. But there's a lot of stuff we can do from the get-go, from the dashboard, for example. But if you really want to get the most, you really have to tailor for each specific product, each endpoint, subdomain, or whatever. So, it's not a couple of guys or like 5 developers who can do that for an entire company. So we really have to have that support internally that everybody really wants to get the most out of it.
Yeah, okay, the knowledge. Yeah, create the community. Okay, good. Good, well, I'll open to the room. Anybody have a story worth sharing? Oh no, I think, yes. Yeah.
I knew about Cloudflare. I learned about it about a month ago, so I'm very new. And I did a deep dive and tried to find out what Cloudflare was. Finding out that it's actually very big, never known about it. Then to get familiar with the product, I went into the Zero Trust features. I never actually did that. To get a VPN operational, I'm a self-employed IT consultant, have a small development test demo environment at home, and never made it to get it operational from somewhere else. And with Zero Trust, it took some time to get familiar with it, learn a lot about what's possible and what's not. And now still finding out about cool features that I never knew that were available that easy. And,
you set it all up for free, right?
Yeah.
No, that's good to hear. That's great. Thanks. Always good to have a brand new customer. Very good. Was there one last story?
Maybe I can share one.
Yeah, of course. Already know. There you go. Yeah.
So in 2019, we had a big outage with our origin servers. We had an outage and that provide a disruptive service to our customers. So our CTO said that we need to build another layer of failover. In case many such incidents happen, we have this totally third-party kind of failover. So for that, what we used was Cloudflare WordPress. So we pocketed the cache system into different days, and we used it when our origin server closed down. We used this state cache to serve to the customer. That quite really worked, and that to our product portfolio, it added as another layer of failover. And few of our sales guys were even able to sell that as a service to our customers.
Yeah, always on, right? You got to be always on. Just in case you couldn't hear that, it was a little hard for me to hear, but I think you said that the workers tool and being able to store sort of your environment in Cloudflare allowed you to stay always on. Even if your infrastructure was offline, there was a failover to Cloudflare and we would deliver the website.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's really good to hear. Excellent. Well, with all of those stories from today, it has been so appreciated. Thank you guys. This is really nice. And thank you for everyone else who was here to listen and learn and to contribute as well. And let's all go downstairs and have a cocktail. And there'll be some food down there and we'll get to enjoy and yeah, meet someone from Cloudflare and pick their brains. Yeah. Thank you guys.